Today is a fun day for Montreal Canadiens fans as we sit back and await game number 5 between the Habs and the Sabres, which is going to go down later today. Of course, though, this video isn't really going to be about this game, nor the series, which is currently tied 2-2. Somebody will take a 3-2 lead by today's end. Because today, what I wanted to do was talk about the Calder Trophy and how one Lane Hutson and Matthew Schaefer have just pulled off something historic. Ladies and gentlemen, let's dive into the scoop here. Because earlier yesterday, it was announced that Matthew Schaefer has won the 2025-2026 Calder Trophy for the NHL's Rookie of the Year. Funny part is, he actually won it unanimously, which is pretty crazy, if I do say so myself. 198 voters in the pool to cast a ballot for the Calder, and 198 voters ranked Matthew Schaefer as number 1 on their ballots, which are ranked via a first, second, third, fourth, fifth basis. You can see the list of all the names here that were nominated. Big shout out over to Linus Karlsson, who received 1 fifth-place vote. In the context of Montreal, though, you can see that Oliver Kapanen had 3 fourth-place votes and 7 fifth-place votes. You can see that Jakub Dobeš had 0 first-place votes, of course, because all the first-place votes went to Schaefer. But Dobeš had 32 second-place votes, 23 third-place votes, 55 fourth-place votes, and 25 fifth-place votes. Beckett Seneca out of the Anaheim Ducks was 3rd, with a number of third-place votes and seconds and fourths. And then Ivan Demidov of the Montreal Canadiens was the runner-up. No first-place votes, of course, because they all went to Schaefer. But Demidov had 120 second-place votes, 48 thirds, 25 fourths, and for some reason, 3 people ranked Demidov as the 5th best rookie this season. Now, I guess that's not really the right way to go out there and talk about it, because the Calder is not necessarily who is the best rookie, it's which rookie had the best season. And there is a very big distinction that has to be made every time we talk about the Calder Trophy and which players end up winning it, because just because you have yourselves a guy that happens to be great does not mean he is guaranteed the Calder. That's why Artemi Panarin ended up winning in 2016 over Connor McDavid. Not to say that Panarin is a bum, it's just a lot of people said, hey, Panarin was 24, he had already played so many pro seasons in Russia. McDavid's 18, and he was carrying the Oilers. He got injured, so he only played half the year, so obviously things are a little bit different when you break it down circumstantially like that. But the Calder goes to the rookie that has the best season, and Matthew Schaefer, age considered, the role considered, just the magnitude of greatness that he had provided New York. There's a reason why he got a unanimous first-place ballot and walked out of the building calmly, not even breaking a sweat, with this Calder Trophy. Now, let's get into the entire historical angle of it all, because as this graphic goes out there and says, Lane Hutson and Matthew Schaefer are back-to-back defenseman Calder Trophy winners. It's the first time since 1963 and 1964 where 2 defensemen won the Calder back-to-back. This gives us a great opportunity to dive into Kent Douglas, who won the Calder Trophy in 1963, and Jacques Laperriere, who is probably a bit more famous for Montreal Canadiens fans. But let's dive into Kent Douglas here. Passed away in 2009, so it's been 15 years since he left us. But Kent Douglas was a Toronto Maple Leafs defenseman who, in his rookie season, had 22 points in 70 games played and 105 penalty minutes. He ended up winning the Rookie of the Year award based on these numbers alone. Now, you take a look at Jacques Laperriere. This is a guy that's in the Hockey Hall of Fame. He won 6 Stanley Cups with the Montreal Canadiens. and he ended up getting the Calder Trophy as well, scoring 30 points in 65 games in 1964, also with 102 penalty minutes. For cross-reference, you take a look at Matthew Schaefer. He had 59 points in 82 games this season, only 38 penalty minutes. So it seems like the big bruisers of the past were able to get away with a lot more, and in fact, it might have been encouraged to be more of a physical ruckus back in the 60s. Lane Hutson, on the other hand, he scored 66 points and 34 penalty minutes in 82 games in his rookie campaign. Now you could take a look at it. He's got 10 points in 11 playoff games for the Habs right now. And who knows, maybe later today against Buffalo, there's a chance that that number ups itself. But I thought it was super interesting just to note the fact that we haven't seen back-to-back defenseman Calder winners since the gosh darn 60s. It has literally been 60 years since we have seen this happen. You know how gosh darn long the NHL has been around? It's been 100-something years, and what? The distance between Kent Douglas and Jacques Laperriere winning to the beginning of the NHL is shorter than the distance between Douglas and Laperriere winning to Hutson and Schaefer now? If that doesn't tell you how rare this kind of a feat is, then I don't know what will. Obviously, we've been talking about this the entire time, but when it comes to the Calder Memorial Trophy, I do think it was always going to be Schaefer. I'm not even too sure Montreal Canadiens fans thought in their heart of hearts that Ivan Demidov had a shot to win the trophy this year. Not even just because Demidov is an inferior player, quote unquote. He's fine, he's good, at least throughout the course of the regular season, he was good. He definitely struggled a lot so far the past little while in the playoffs. But he had 62 points in 82 games played. Matthew Schaefer had 3 fewer points as a defenseman. He was tasked with some really difficult minutes. He was getting some 29, 28, 27-minute games over there, especially late in the season for the Islanders. Unfortunately, you take a look at all these losses that the Isles piled up. They just couldn't win to save their lives and make the playoffs. But Matthew Schaefer being played so much in these games was indicative to the skill, the capability, and the role that this guy had within the Islanders organization right off the hop. He's a number 1 defenseman at 18 years old, a really young 18, by the way, too. He was just a week or two away from being eligible for the 2026 NHL Entry Draft. So young, so skilled, and already a top defenseman in the National Hockey League. That is something none of us really expected, especially when you consider what he was doing last year. Spoiler alert, he was good last year, but he didn't play. He had 19 games played. He spent the whole year recovering from injury. And he still was able to go first overall. And now we know why. This is a guy that very well could challenge Lane Hutson for future Norris contention, and that's not even to mention the breadth of other guys like Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar, etc. We are on the cusp of seeing a brand new generation of defensemen take over the league, and this back-to-back Calder winner thing for Hutson and Schaefer, it's the beginning of it all. Heck, you can say 2020 may have been the beginning of it all when Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes were battling it out with each other for the Calder. 2019, you saw Elias Pettersson win over Rasmus Dahlin and Jordan Binnington, so maybe we're already in that new age, aren't we? But still, you think about it, like, Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar were nominated for the Calder 6 years ago. That's 6 years ago. Imagine what Schaefer and Lane Hutson are going to be in 6 years. There's so much excitement for these two guys. And going back to the past, shout out to Kent Douglas, shout out to Jacques Laperriere, and the history behind this trophy. Let me know in the comments all your opinions, how you feel about Matthew Schaefer winning the Calder. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.